So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use Microsoft Word to create yourself some digital letterheaded stationery for your business so that you can write your business plans or letters or proposals or quotations to your clients. But it also uses a continuation sheet, which is styled slightly different to give you more space on the page. So I'm going to start the video with a quick walkthrough, and then I'm going to show you how to set this all up for yourselves in today's video. Okay, so we're going to jump on straight over to my left-hand monitor, where you can see I have been playing already and I have styled myself as a business owner some letterheaded stationery. Now, a very quick walkthrough. We have got a template. It's a template document, a dotx file, which means that we can create multiple instances of this or copies of this whilst the original file stays unaffected, which means it's brilliant for working with your business. You could create 100 documents in a day and the original template will be untouched. Now, I just want to show you the benefit of doing something the way that I am going to show you in this tutorial today. So just so that we can get a second page, as you can see, I've scrolled to the bottom and we've got the footer area down here. I'm literally just going to come down and create a second page. And if you look now at the second page that has automatically created, it's actually got a very slightly different style of footer. Let me create a couple of them actually so I can show you that. So the second page and every page thereafter has actually got a very slightly different style of footer, okay, and we removed the logos up here in the top right corner, allowing a lot more text and space on the page, which is when you really get into the meaty aspects of your document. But on the very first page here, you can see that I've still got my logo, and because it's the first page and a lot of the data for my business is up here in this top right corner, I've simplified the footer. And all of this is set up as part of the template, and I've designed the template so that actually, if I close it and open a new copy of it, so if I come up here, this is the document I've just created. You can see here it's a dotx. If I right click on it and open the original file, so I'm now editing the template itself, you can see as I scroll down, it's still only one document. There are no extra pages, and it's only when you get down and you've done a lot of work and a lot of text and you want to get to the very bottom of the page, and it automatically carries on writing for you. And what you'll find here is then that second continuation style of paper kicks in, and that's what I'm going to teach you in today's video. But before we can start editing, let me just close that because I don't want to upset my actual template. Before we can crack on with Microsoft Word, we need to have a talk about the actual images. Now, I'm diving over here right now quickly to my Adobe Illustrator. If this is something that you want to do, you might have to talk to your graphic designer who designed your logos and that kind of thing, because you are going to need to obviously play around and set up your actual flair and style as if you was going to create a print document and you was going to send it to the printers to get a whole batch of traditional paper set up. Now, the only difference is, for speed, I've been very lazy and I've actually created this as one large document. Well, realistically, I could easily have reduplicated this border inside Microsoft Word. I could have just had my own little person as a logo. This is all text, and just added in my logo for my two arms of my business. I've been lazy and I've just put it all into one document. But the thing that I want to show you is that this Adobe file in Illustrator is set up to design actual print quality copy files, or in this sense my letterheaded stationery. But when I go to File Export and I choose Save for Web, for it to work in Microsoft Word, it has to be a JPEG file. So you want to leave the quality at 100%. Now, this does make the JPEG file quite meaty in the amount of memory it uses, which is why, again, I say to you guys, you should really break the image down into the smallest components and use as many of the tools as you can inside Microsoft Word to create the actual image that you want, and only import the images themselves. But the other thing that I want you to bear in mind is, if you look up here, the percentage is 100%. Now, to actually export this, I've actually blown this up to 500%, which makes the file 500 times bigger than it is now. The reason being, let me just come out of here because I don't need that now. The reason being is because when you import the file into Microsoft Word, for some reason it actually reduces the image in size, and it doesn't, it kind of like makes it minuscule, if that makes sense. And you don't want that, because then you have to expand the image and it becomes pixelated. Now, the great thing about vector images in Adobe Illustrator, as opposed to things like Photoshop, is that Adobe Illustrator is designed to use a vector-based algorithm, which in layman's terms basically means no matter how big I scale this image or these text and whatnot, the program is going to create a little bit of like a computer math type thing going on in the background, and where the pixelation starts to occur, it's going to mask it by adding in pixels to remove that jagged effect. So I could blow this document up to be the size as the Empire State Building and not lose any quality. The only aspects that would have a little bit of a quality issue is my actual photo, because everything else, all my other logos and all of this text is all vector based, and it's all been designed inside the Adobe Illustrator software. So it was only my photo really that wouldn't be able to blow up to the size of the Empire State Building, because that would be pixelated. So now that you've got the idea on the images, you'd need to talk to your graphic designer and make sure that they blow up the image that you want to use, or the text if you can't reduplicate it inside Microsoft Word, to like 500 times the normal size, and then that way you can import it in without too much difficulty. Now, if I come back to Microsoft Word, now that we've got the images, we're going to work with creating a new file. So straight off the cuff, just get yourself a blank file. Now, the first thing that you want to do is you want to deal with your margins. Now, if I quickly open up my other version that we've already done, you can see here that I've played with the margins, but I did it first because when you put the background images in, even if you lock those images in place and you start fiddling with margins afterwards, they still move about and it drives you absolutely insane, and it's very frustrating. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to change the margins. Now, I've reduced mine down to be 2 centimeters on the left and the right. They used to be a lot thicker, the margins, purely because we used to use like folders that have hole punches in them on the side to put the paper into those kind of ring bind folders. But now every day, I mean, when did you last print off a document? You know, everything's digital, so you might as well want to use the space a little bit better. When you've done that, if you double click somewhere at the very top of the page, you will open up your header and footer, and this is where you're going to start working. Now, this is frustrating, and before you do anything else, you just finally need to do one more tweak here on your margins. If you look very carefully around the number 8 and the number 16, these are kind of like your indents as to where the text is placed. So if you want it to be right aligned, it's actually not going to right align it to the margin, it will right align it to this funny little tab, as it were. So if you just move this over now, and obviously I'm working in an A4 because I'm in the UK environment, so if you're in the US or somewhere else and you're using more of an international style, then your size margins might be just a wee bit different to mine. But essentially this white bar here is 17 centimeters wide, which means 8.5 centimeters is the midway point. So we've got our left, middle and right, and now everything will align nicely on the page, and that's the only other real adjustment to the ruler or the margins that you need to do at this point. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to insert a image. Now, the first one, it depends which way you want to do it. Everybody thinks, you know, the first piece of paper that you should put in here is your front page, that letterhead, before you start with a continuation. But actually, I find it's easier to load in the continuation page first. So let me just go to my device. Somewhere in here, I have stored my letterheaded paper. Assets, and we're going to start by loading in my JPEG continuation. Now, as you can see, it's been reduced in size. Now, before we touch the image, we're going to do a couple of things. First of all, we're going to go up to the top here where it says wrap text, and what we're going to do is we're going to actually set this image to go behind the text, which means now we can write on top of it. Once we've done that, okay, it does mean that we can move the image around the screen. Okay, and what you can do is, if you wanted to, you can kind of go to the layout tab and position it center, which is fine, but it's still quite small. So from here, you just need to start scaling it, and it is a little bit of a a sort of a tweak and test process, I've got to be honest with you. As you drag the file sizes around, you just kind of make sure you have definitely covered the white edge, and as you can see now the white has appeared again at the top. So if we move it up using my arrow keys, there's a white bit at the bottom, so it does actually mean, even though I've got the original file in Illustrator was designed to be exactly letterhead, it just, I don't know if it's Microsoft, I don't know if it's Adobe. If somebody out there is watching this video and does actually have an answer to give me, I've always been curious, so please do let me know. But you just need to tweak. And if you can see now, I have actually covered the entire background image of the letterhead, the white template piece of paper that Word gives you. Now that I've done that, I'm going to right click on the image and I'm going to come down to size and position. And I've actually got this ticked already in size, but it's the position one that's really important. What you want to do is lock anchor, and it's probably very dark for you to see, but there is now a little blue anchor symbol right here where I'm circulating my cursor, and that means that the image that we have just imported into the background header of our document should now be locked in place. Now if I click out of that, and this is why it drives me absolutely mad, you can see here that we're still in our header, and for some reason it's jumped to the top, and you kind of go through this again, and I tell you what it's done. I bet you anything, if I right click back onto this and go to wrap text, yeah, it's gone back to square, and you'll find you fight Word a little bit on this all the time. There we go, let's move this down, and you'll find that it really does drive me insane, and even though I know what I'm doing, it still does this to me and I still get caught out. So you guys are going to have the same thing, no doubt, a few times. So let me just now come out of it. There we go. I had to reposition it one more time. So if that happens to you, when you're in the actual document, just double check the picture formatting. Go to that wrap text, because I'll guarantee you, I think Microsoft is thinking it's helping you by repositioning, but you just want to make sure it's selected there behind the text, and it will jump around, and you just keep repositioning it until you're happy, and it definitely isn't going to move anymore, and you come out and you show. Now obviously I'm working with the second piece of paper there. This is the continuation sheet. There is no logo up here in the top right corner, but this is actually at the moment in the very first page of our document, and I wanted to come out and just show you this. So if I double click again and go back into the header, what we've got here under the header and footer tab is the ability to tick a box that says a different first page. So I'm going to do that, and as you can see now, the first page, it even says first page header, has gone white. And if I close that for a second and show you that we've got now a second header page, all I've done is inserted a second page, and there you can see that the continuation sheet is actually doing its job, and it exists from page 2 of our document forever up until the end of the file. Okay, so what we need to do now is repeat this exact same process by double clicking on the header on this first page, and we need to go and insert, oh, that's page numbers, where have we gone, pictures, there we go, insert the first page of our letterhead, there we go, and then we need to go to the wrap. We want to put it behind the text. We want the margins have also just readapted as well, so just make sure that you're on the ball there. Actually, to be honest with you, let me correct myself. The margins have remained the same. It's these tabs that have moved. So again, I've made the placement of the middle one at 8.5 centimeters, because that's exactly halfway between 0 and 17 centimeters, and I've repositioned the right hand side to be on the edge of the margin. I'm now going to resize my document again, so this time we're doing it on the first one, and as you can see at the bottom of the page or the screen, you can still see that I've got the second page showing. So I think that's about right on the alignment. I'm just going to move it down a few seconds. Let me just move it down. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. There we go, move it down. Impatience, I keep forgetting which tool and software I'm in, and I keep moving the wrong controls. So there we go. I'm happy with that. It's quite close to the top, so let me just move it down. So when you've repositioned this one and you're happy, actually I'm just going to nudge that one over a little bit so it's even, right. So when you're happy with this one, again, you're going to right click, size and position, go to the position tab. You do not want it to move object with the text. You want to lock it, click on OK. Didn't jump around, which was good. I'm just going to double check whilst we're in here right now that this is definitely on selected behind the text. That's good. And I'm just definitely going to make sure, because it does jump there, behind the text is good. I'm now going to go back to my header and footer and close this. Okay, if we use this little symbol up here, we can actually see the non-printable markers that give you sort of guides as to what's going on in the document. So I'm just going to delete them, and that means now that that second sheet has suddenly disappeared, but don't worry, it's still part of the file. I'm just going to hit save, because now we need to actually create this as a document. So at the moment, this is trying to be a dotx, which is just a regular Word document, but I'm going to click on that, come all the way down to where it says Word document, and we're looking for the .dotx file. Okay, click on more options. Now, I personally create my own MS templates file, and I store it in like my normal business tools and resources. You should, if you wanted to, you can actually save it out into the correct path for Microsoft itself. So when you go to new, it will actually suggest it up here as to what that, as it being a new document that you can use. So I'm just going to come out of here for a second. Let me just file save as, to make sure I've definitely saved this. I want to save it as, let me just put it in here. I'm going to put test letter head, and I'm making sure that the document type is a template. There we go. And actually, having changed it now, what it's trying to do in this particular instant is say to me, do you want to store this in the custom office templates? Which is actually really helpful, because now it means that every time I go to file new, it will suggest my own letterhead to me as a document that we can use. So I'm just going to leave that calling it test at the moment, so I can show you that. All right. So as you look up here, we can still see that we're working with the .x file. Okay. If we just close this down now, and there's my original one, so let me just close that, and we'll talk about these fonts in just a moment, because we've got to finish styling our document. Okay, you can see nothing is now open. So if I go to file new, like I want to create a new document, okay, it should be listing up here as my test example. There you go. It's because I haven't used it, so it's not suggested it yet. But if you click on personal, there's my test letterhead, and now it's created an instance of it for me. So I can go all the way down the page, or I'm going to just skip and cheat and create that second page. So here's page 1, and now you can see that the letterheaded continuation paper has automatically kicked in for me, so it's working nicely there. Okay, and if you look up the top here, it's just got a bog standard generic document to name. And so when we go to file save as, so maybe I've wrote a business plan and I decide that I want to store it somewhere, it's going to give me a .docx file, which is basically the normal standard documents that you create with Microsoft Word. So that is how you can create yourself a template and also save it to your templates folder for quick and easy use. If you need to edit it at all, click on open. If you've, obviously I pin my documents that I use quite a lot to the top, but if you are going to open it, just make sure you know which file you're working with. So you're looking for the .x file. If you right click on it, you can open a copy, which makes an instance, or you can open the original file. And there is a big difference between the two. One of them means that you're working in the template when you click on open, and when you click on open a copy, you're working with an instance or a copy of that template, and it will be the docx file for you. Okay. So there's that. Now, if you want to, you can also copy the path to clipboard if you need to find where it is that this letterheaded stationery has been saved to. Now, I'm just going to close this one more time for you, because the other thing that I want to do is just quickly dive back into my original letterheaded template, because what I have done is I have taken the time now to style my fonts, okay, which means everything that I do allows me to very quickly remain on brand with my business style and presentation of my documentation, but it also means that I don't have to start thinking about cosmetics. I can keep my head in the game and focus on the content that I am actually trying to write and deliver. So quickly, what we're going to do here is we're going to style this up here. If you expand this, you can see here there is the option for creating a style, and it is literally as simple as somewhere on your page writing some text. Okay, deciding that you want to call that your letterhead, so you style it in the way that you want to. Maybe you want to choose Roberto Black and it's going to be the title of your document, so you style it the way that you want to. Maybe you change the colour, whatever it is that you want to do. And when you are happy, highlight it, come up here, click on that little arrow, go to create a style. It's going to ask you what you want as a name, so I'm going to put the word test style, because obviously I'm going to delete this in a minute, and I'm going to click on OK. And now I've got this font designed, ready to go every time I use this document, which is why I've got these default ones there that I can then delete and start working with. Now the great thing is, if you've got lots of suggestions, you can right click on a font style and then you can basically modify or update it or remove it. As you can see now, I've just changed all of the text in my document to this horrible text style that I've just created. Okay, but if I was to change the style on the fly right now, let's say I change it to blue and I reduce the size down a bit, you can see that the actual original style has not changed. You can see I've only made the changes on some of the text and not all of it. But if I come up here now, making sure that my cursor is positioned somewhere inside the style that I've amended, and I right click, I can click on update test style to match the selection. It updates this box, and any text in my document, which if it could be 100 pages long, and it's using that test style font that I've designed, will automatically propagate through the entire document and do the change. So you can change once and benefit from multiple instances of that text and that style being used. Now I don't want that. I am going to actually delete it. So I am going to remove this from the style gallery. So there we go, it's gone. And if we expand, you can see it's not down here anywhere. And just because I don't want to save my document with this, because this is actually my letterhead, I'm just going to close and cancel out of it without saving. Okay, and that is pretty much how you set up your letterheaded stationery. So if you think about it now, when you go and you write your document, say you're creating a business plan and the only concern you have is that maybe the person you're sending this to as an attachment on an email doesn't use the fonts that you use, and therefore it might screw up the style and presentation of your artwork, or I should say your document. What you can do is go and file save as, and when you're saving your document, just save it as a PDF, and that PDF will be like a generic environment that will lock in all the images, lock in all the styles of fonts, and kind of cement it into the document, so that when you attach that file in an email to your bank manager because you're applying for a business loan or whatever you're using your business plan for, or whatever your documentation is, whether it's going to a client and it's a business proposal, whatever it is, it will always 100% look spot on, professional, kick-ass, and your recipient, the other end, will be very, very impressed with your professional created digital letterheaded stationery. And the real beauty of this, it means that you don't actually have to go and spend a fortune at your local printers getting all this paperwork stuff done, because that's the traditional way of obviously using letterhead, because when people want to print out that document, they know they are the ones that are printing it, and they are the ones that know that they are controlling the print environment. And if it doesn't necessarily look so spot on because of their own print settings, the onus is on them and not you and the quality of your file to start with, so you can save yourself an absolute fortune in print stationery costs. So I hope you enjoyed this video today. If you are struggling, and you are genuinely struggling, and you really can't be bothered to do any of what I've said, but you want the benefit of this document existing, just ask me. I'm going to put a link below in the description of this video that will send you out to my website with an order form. I'm charging £99 in the UK plus VAT, which is the government tax, to do this. So it's going to cost you about 120 quid. I'll be able to package up your entire digital letterheaded stationery. I will send you the dotx file for the actual letterheaded template, and then you can open it up in your Microsoft Word and save it again as a dotx file, and it will put it into your templates folder for you to use. So that's it from me today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you haven't been here before, please do click the subscribe button, use the bell to stay notified as to when I produce other videos for this channel. Whew, can't talk. And that's it from me today. If you've got any questions or comments, please put them below the video. I do dive in regularly and answer as many as I can, and I wish you all the best in your business endeavours. bye.